Good afternoon. How's everyone doing? Good. Who was here this morning that got a chance to watch the State of the Industry presentation? Great stuff. We're going to continue the theme and take a deep dive into the consumer this afternoon with one of our friends, Tom Mirabile from Springboard Futures. Tom was with us today on the IHA State of the Industry and Market Watch report. Let me tell you a little bit about what the session is today, and then we'll bring Tom on board. Tom is going to take a look at his consumer value equation. He's calling it Consumers in Control, Insights and Imperatives for the New Economy. Whether you're on the shifting sands of supply side or the front lines of retail, an emphasis on the consumer is essential. Still, staying focused can be difficult with today's incessant storm of new, sometimes conflicting information. It's time to take a fresh look at the critical elements of success. And that's what Tom is going to do today. Tom is the principal of Springboard Futures, and he's also the consumer trend forecaster for IHA. And with the launch of his 2023 Value Equation Index, Tom is going to enlighten us, take a look at how consumers are creating, how we can create value for consumers, and which expectations will drive their spending in 2023 and beyond. I am pleased to welcome Tom Mirabile.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Tom.
It always feels so goofy to have people clap for you. It's like, because then you have to do something good, right? It's funny. 3 years ago, the first day of the Inspired Home Show, or just like a week before, was when they declared, pandemic and everything shut down. And it was also it was the launch of my new business, Springboard Futures. Which was originally mainly a style trend and consumer trend at the back. And what's happened is that since that, the industry of trend has really started to focus. It's been great for me, a bit exhausting, but it's really started to focus on consumer sentiment and how people feel. Because the pandemic just moved forward something that was already happening, which was that people wanted to be treated like human beings. They wanted emotion as a part of the purchase. They wanted to basically feel like individuals, which is really a challenge. But then again, I was saying to somebody today, the housewares industry, people say, what are we going to do? How can you personalize pots and pans and all of these other household products? Well, if you would ask Nike 15 years ago, how do you personalize a sneaker? They'd be like, you can't do it. 20,000, push a button, 20,000 pop out. So we have to figure it out like other industries have. We have to innovate, like Jill was saying this morning. So sorry, I was late. I apologize. But if you know me, I'm always late. So consumers in control. What we do is we take the value equation, the 10 or so things that people think about before they buy that influence their purchase, and we look at how people are seeing them today. What's the change? What's really floating to the top? What's staying the same? So we're going to start off, and don't worry, I'm not going through all these today. Peter and I and Liana are working for the rest of the year. We're going to be going through all of them, but we're going to go through some of them today. But these are all the things that consumers say are their top concerns when they make a purchase. What seals the deal? Like anything, the more things that you do right with this, the more likely it is going to be that you're going to get the sale. So the first thing is trust. Now, we have talked about trust before. What's really surprising is that this year, trust went to the top of the value equation. In other words, it is the piece of the value equation, the thing that most affects whether people buy or not. A lot of that was spurred on by the pandemic also, because we were in a place where we had to rely on other consumers to tell us things. We had to rely on the ability to judge a product and trust that the manufacturer was saying the truth, because we couldn't touch it, we couldn't feel it. So when we look at trust and how it breaks out, just to define, it's your sense that a retailer or a brand is credible, that they're reliable, that they are delivering value to their customers, and that that's their commitment first, that they want to deliver value to their customers. We asked consumers, this was a consumer survey that reached across over 1,000 people, about 1,200, and it reached across the nation. It went from $50,000 household income to $250,000. And inside of that, it had an even break of generations. It was about 65% female, and the rest of the survey was census break. We tried to stay really realistic about it. And by the way, we did this with, it was Springboard Futures Project Partners Network. And I think Leanne is here somewhere. And Michelle Lamb, who is laid up with a foot surgery. But so we tried to keep it very realistic. We did the base on census-based. So it was income census-based, it was age census-based, and weighted by that. But what's interesting here is 39% of consumers said that it was very important. 37 said it was somewhat important. 22 said it was extremely important. So, I mean, do the numbers. Trust is a very important aspect of this. Ooh, new colors. So what does trust mean to people? What's the most important part of trust? So when we asked consumers, and they were allowed to pick two of these, what jumped to the top really quickly was a reputation for reliability and durability. That spanned very evenly across generations. Sorry. And it spanned across generations, across incomes. You'll see that what was really surprising this year was that trust and quality spanned evenly across generations. So it didn't matter what generation you were from, it didn't matter how much you made, you still wanted trust and quality to be right at the top of what people were offering you. This next thing was prior personal experience. That's 47%. And then the third was 28% at recommendations from others. One of the big things that's changed in our business, and every business, is that we're delegating trust to other consumers. So we don't always wait to see if enough people say that they believe in it, people that we trust, then we don't try a brand like we used to. We used to buy something small from them and then maybe invest later in something bigger. Now, we listen to others. We've delegated our trust to people we trust and get the information there. So we thought, since brands are important, how do we look at, when you're shopping for brands and housewares and home products, how important are brands to you? It was interesting that 52% said it was somewhat important, and then 26% said it was very important, and 10% said it was extremely important. So, you've got a solid 36%. And one of the things that we always talk about when we talk about brands is you can't be you've got own brands, of course. You can't be an all-brand, all-licensed company, but brands are an opportunity, and licenses as well, to reinvent yourself constantly. Because we can't, and you've seen a lot of these collaborations or collabs coming across a lot of different industries. We don't tend to do a lot of it. We should do more of it, because it's a way of saying, we know that you like this. So you'll see, say, for example, Kraft macaroni and cheese. Last year they did a pink macaroni and cheese, and then they did one with Pokemon, and they picked up different licenses to temporarily change their line. So it kept it fresh for consumers, it kept them buying, it didn't let them pigeonhole who that brand was, and it let them reinvent. Which of the following are the most likely to influence which brands you choose? So again, when we look at the top, reputation and status, okay? Again, it's a trust story. Confidence. When we talk about confidence, we mean how do you feel about the brand, not how the brand feels about themselves. Personality. Personality is what kind of a personality does the brand have? So we're seeing more and more. I mean, if you look at Liberty Mutual, Emu, it's like people are paying attention to that brand because they like those characters, and it's how do you feel about the personality of the brand? Are they fun? Are they smart? Somebody said to me the other day that they didn't understand why insurance companies were doing so much with funny characters. And I said, well, what tells you more about how confident they are that they can do your job for you, that they're joking about it. Like they have the give because they're so good at what they do that they can actually be funny. And then we get to personal growth. Does the brand help me grow personally? So is it something that can help me expand who I am? And then last was how they relate to the community. Oh, no, rather, do they have a community? This I thought was really interesting. I just came across this before I came in, so I kind of stuck it in at the last minute. But under that, what influences brands? If you look closely at this, which is kind of hard, but it's what are the trusted advertising channels among U.S. consumers? So in the teal is I trust it completely. So let's just look at that. In teal, word of mouth has the highest trust rate at 33%. Blue is trust somewhat. So when you look across, then you see that. And I'm sorry, across the top, Gen Z is on the left. So youngest on the left, oldest on the right. When it comes to what the real separator is, see, look at the hot pink. It says, this is when you don't trust a brand, when you don't trust what a brand is saying much. So the top two in that are you're seeing branded websites. They don't really trust what millennials don't trust them, Gen X doesn't trust them, none of us trust them when they say it on their own site, because it's their site. We trust it when other people talk about them. So it just gives you a sense of how important it is to reach outside what you define yourself as and to be flexible enough to let people help define you, to be responsive about what people are saying. So this came from Edelman Trust Survey. I love Edelman Trust Survey. They tell you so much, but what they're telling you here, it's small to read, but they said, they asked consumers, they were talking about the power of brands to create a shared identity. And when they said to consumers, consumers who said brands celebrating what brings us together and emphasizing our common interests would strengthen the social fabric. In the US, 63% of respondents said that was true. So it's another reason why brands, why licenses are important, because they bring us together. They're what we agree on. Or don't. But so let's talk about quality. Quality is number two. I think this is where we start to realize that price is not like number one or number two. It's a big statement to make, but this is what we're seeing. So the value of quality. Quality, as we define it, delivers reliable performance, safety, durability, desirable material properties, aesthetics, etc. And so we gave people, before they saw any of the questions, we said, so we're all talking about the same, this is what we need quality. It broke out, 49% said it was extremely important, and 32% said it was very important. Because when you hear quality, quality is one of those things that sort of leaps across every other thing that we're going to talk about. Quality talks about material, it talks about how you talk to people, it's everything. Which of the following quality traits are the most likely to influence your purchase decision? Number one is durability. 59% said, and they were allowed to select two. Durability was number one at 59%. Reliable performance was number two. And then you see a big drop. So it's like, it's clear that this is what people really care about. And again, this is cross-generational. So in the past, what we've seen is that we've seen quality was so strongly associated with price that what we were seeing was that you'd see a big drop in the expectation of quality at opening price point and with younger consumers because they couldn't afford the quality. So they didn't think they deserved it if they weren't paying for it. Now, across the board, quality is almost identical within a point of one another across all generations, and price is the same way when it relates to quality. Safety, ease of use, minimal care and maintenance, and material composition, and design aesthetics. So let's talk about price. Price was a really hard thing. We struggled with it a lot because if you ask people, do you want a low price? They're going to say yes. So we approached it a little bit different way, and we said pricing and promotions are about delivering reliable performance. Obviously, it's not that. It wasn't what we did. Sorry, I left the wrong tab under here. But basically, what we said was pricing is about what value it delivers for the price that you pay. And it's not just, do you want the lowest price? It's how do you deal with certain types of promotions. So, but in general, how do you feel about promotional pricing and how it plays in your purchase decision? This was really surprising. Only 44% said it was only somewhat important. That's a big number. Because people aren't just looking at things as price anymore and what they pay. They're looking at what they pay and what it delivers. So as I said before about that sort of overlap, when you look at quality, people want a lot of quality. They want durability. They want reliable performance. And they're willing to pay more for it. So price isn't the first thing that they think about. 33% very, 16% extremely. And then we thought, well, how does that break out? So when it comes to price and promotion, which of the following best describes your purchasing decision? They could choose up to two. The first was, I wait for a promotion. I wait for things to go on sale, or I know reliable promotions. The second, and that came in at 39%. The second, free shipping and returns, 34%. That is a big number, and it's jumped since the pandemic. Because people, nobody goes backwards in terms of expectations. So a lot of companies made it difficult for a lot of retailers by giving away shipping or including it in the price. The next is rebates and coupons, 31%. Now, a lot of us think of rebates and coupons as being strictly for higher price point items. It wasn't like that. It's all across the board in price point. They want rebates and coupons. Is it a fair price? As long as it's a fair price, one of the things, the full description of this was, I don't wait to buy something if it's a fair price. So you've got 30% of consumers saying, you know what, if the price seems fair, I'm not going to wait. And this is not a year old. This was taken about a week and a half ago, which is another reason why I'm late, but we just got this. Loyalty and rewards. Loyalty and rewards has seen a big increase over the past 3 years. I'm not going to lie, I have no idea why. But we've seen it increase. If we did a breakdown in channel, we'd probably see it increasing probably more in grocery and probably more in drug, but that's just a supposition. And then finally, social media reach. So price and promotion, when we look at it, we say, how many people wait till they see it on social media or expect to hear about brands and promotions on social? And the number's pretty high on that. I mean, 18% is nothing to sneeze at. Which of the following have the greatest influence on your purchase decision in terms of the product itself, the price of, when you pay for the price and you want the value for your money, what are the most important things? Ease of use hopped up to number 1. It was number 3 last year at 55%. Warranties and support was number 5 last year, and that's popped up. So, and I think that as we get, we were talking about smart home this morning. As we start seeing products that we don't understand as well, and we don't know how long they're supposed to last, and we don't know if we can, how long we can depend, we start getting more dependent on, are you going to take it back? Are you going to stand behind it if I can't figure it out or I hate it? And so that's why we think that's happening. Color and style, 30%. An interesting juxtaposition, because back at the last one, they were saying that design was only, I think it was 10 or 12%. And I think, honestly, that's because design's very vague, But when we say color and style, it pops up a bit. And then new technologies, 17%. And then finally, content, post-sale content. Like, are you going to stay in touch with me? Is there a community I can go to? Do I have content on how to cook, bake, do whatever it is to make your product work? Convenience. Convenience is a really interesting part of the value equation, because last year and the year before, convenience was strongly based in the pandemic created new standards for convenience. So we had people, pick up in store, or buy online, pick up in store. There were all different things to make people more comfortable buying with you. And now that's kind of shifted, because what we think of as convenience now is very different. Well, not completely different. So whether you're shopping online or in store, this is how we defined it for them. Whether you're shopping online or in store, convenience refers to how simple and seamless a retailer makes your shopping experience from start to finish. Convenience often includes things like finding the product you want, having those items in stock, and providing easy, preferred options for payment and delivery. So what we saw is, by that definition, 42% said it was very important. 21% said it was extremely important. Very, very extremely at 60 plus 63%. That's a nice big number. And 33% said it was somewhat. Now, it's not that under normal conditions you'd say, okay, well, I want something to be convenient. But when just before it we tell them what it means, that it's about all those specific things, to see a number this high tells you that that type of service has become endemic. When considering shopping convenience, which of the following is most likely to influence your decision to purchase? Number 1, 62%. They were allowed to choose up to 3, but number 1 was 62% was free shipping and returns. So for smaller businesses, this really kind of begs a decision, because should I build it into my retail? But you've got to start providing that, because it's essential. And what does it mean for local deliveries also? Home delivery and pickup, 43%. Now, again, this is not the heat of the pandemic. This is something that may have started in the pandemic, but it was just taken a week and a half ago. So, and it's broad, cross-country. So this is something that, we don't necessarily think is really important in terms of convenience. In stock or a similar item is available. When we look at that as a convenience driver, Target has really sort of put people on that, like calling you up and you can have it delivered, and they'll select items that are substitutes and completely wrong. But it's kind of fun. But the idea of in stock was higher last year because we were just coming out of the pandemic, and we were very kind of, everybody was still talking about supply chain all the time. So we were like, I'm going to get it while I can get it. Now, that's kind of drifted away. People are more getting comfortable again with that being available. What surprised me was location. Location, as it was defined here in a longer phrase, was the pickup is close to me. So even if I'm buying it online, and even if I can pick it up, I want it to be close. Customer service, nice and medium. And then app-based payments, app-based financing. So then with like Klarna and things like that, can I finance it and do a monthly? That jumped up from 11% last year. So we were kind of surprised at that, to be honest. And then payment options were, app-based purchasing was the last one, and payment options was Klarna. Ratings and reviews, always really interesting. So, you kind of expect ratings and reviews to be really important. And nobody's going to say they want to see a bad review, but the numbers that we're seeing are really about, are people trimming back the reviews that they get? Are they taking bad reviews out? Are they buying reviews and things like that? We talked about it this morning. That type of suspicion is always going to be, it's always going to be there. But what we thought was interesting was there was greater confidence in reviews that had consumers saying bad things. First, because it gave, in some cases, the vendor a chance to respond. And in other cases, it at least let the good reviews feel genuine. So, important. And then lifestyle benefits. So, lifestyle benefits, sorry, it's hard to read, provides benefits beyond their main function. So, for example, an air fryer may be a part of achieving a healthier lifestyle, and storage and organization products may encourage a sense of calm and things like that. So you're buying something, but you're getting something else that's sort of a bonus. So very too extremely was about 44%. And it's interesting. That's when you think about it as a part of the value equation, that's a high percentage for something that's not listed on the package. And it tells you when you're bringing in a product, when you're making a merchandising statement, if you're a retailer, how are you sending the message that, I think one of the things about trend and about consumer understandings, everybody in this room tends to think that their consumers think like they do, and they don't. They don't know what you know, they don't think like you, they don't have any of these facts. They only know what you tell them, and they've got a lot of noise. Joe Derechowski was talking this morning about getting a share of mind. There's a lot of noise. So what are you doing in store or again, retailer or as a manufacturer when somebody walks into your booth? And amazing, it's so nice to see so many vendors here, but it's really crowded out there. And I'm walking through, and Zoe and I are working the floor, and we're like, we got to split up because there's so many people. But how are you telling people in your booth or on the floor, what's the message beyond what it does? What's the secondary message? Is it environmental? Is it, how are you improving the consumer's lifestyle by carrying this product? Lifestyle benefits, not surprising, 46%, you got to choose two, 46% chose promoting wellness was the highest. And again, we saw that in the Market Watch survey as well. Spending more time with family and friends was number 2 at 34%. So, and a lot of these things you have to keep in mind, they're aspirational trends in a way. So it's something that we're not necessarily doing now, but we go into the store in the back of our mind, and this is what we want to do, right? This is the way we want to live. I thought it was really interesting because this was almost a 10-point jump from last year, was learning new skills, learning to do new things. And I think that for us, that's key because when we look at the housewares industry, there was a lot that we sold a lot of new skills during the pandemic, and for some reason, we have to keep telling people there's new things to do. It didn't end with sourdough bread, I promise. So how are we telling them that there are new things to do with what they bought from us, that there's an add-on, that there's something else to engage them with? Again, emotional health. I was really expecting that this was going to be towards the back, even though the Market Watch survey was saying something different. When it came to offering this in a product, that 30% of people are expecting you to deliver emotional health with their product. Figure out, it's so easy to look at it and say, I have no idea what they're talking about. Figure it out. It's so hard now to have brainstorming meetings when you're not all sitting in the same place. But these are the things that at least keep people awake on a Zoom call. It's like, I want to hear what everybody has to say about how do we deliver emotional health? Or how do we change our packaging to say what we're doing to deliver that? Creativity. People want to feel creative. Again, most of you have a solid bead on what creativity is, at least by definition or by personal action. You look at trends all day. Every day you look at product. You're dealing with people who don't necessarily have the DNA that you have to understand this. So by the time I saw butterboards at retail, I was ready to hurl from looking at butterboards on Pinterest. But it's like, it's our job. Most of the stuff that you buy, you should be dead sick of because consumers are just seeing it. So don't let that sway your assortment. And then social media. The idea was, give me something to talk about on social media. Help me connect better on social media. What are your products doing with that? Sometimes you see things like, well, worst example ever, the selfie stick. I do that all the time. So it's like these are the products that reach out and say, we're going to help you change your environment, share it in a different way. When we look at the shopper experience, so what we wanted to do was say, when you purchase, actually I'm going to jump ahead a slide. When you're evaluating product to buy in home and housewares, where do you do it? And I thought it was very interesting. So 8% said almost all in store. 14% said slightly more in store. 43% said an equal mix of in-store and online. And you can see where the rest goes. But it's a pretty nice balanced mix. What's surprising about it is that this is really close to ready-to-wear numbers, it's shocking because this was not where we thought our business was going to go. And it wouldn't have gone there this fast to this type of a balance without first having the pandemic. The pandemic was a gift to us in a lot of ways. It got people really comfortable with buying online housewares goods that they would normally feel like they had to pick up in store. Now let's look at what it means when they are, sorry, I have to go backwards, my bad. So that's evaluating. When they make a purchase online, what best describes your shopping habits about making the purchase? 11%, almost all in store. 20%, slightly more in store. And 43%, equal mix of in-store and online. I'm going to jump back and forth between the two for a second so you can see the difference. So evaluating, 43% in evaluating, and 43% in actually buying. When we go to the evaluating, 14% in-store, 20% evaluated online first. Slightly more online, purchasing 16%, 23% when it comes to evaluating it. So in other words, there's a huge amount of crossover. People are constantly evaluating things almost always now before they buy it if it's above a certain price point. The opportunity in here is to excite them while they're there. That was like the best part about, buy online, pick up in store. You had to go in there. People were shopping surgically. So what they were doing is they didn't want to see other people and they didn't want to touch a lot of things. And so what they did was they went and picked it up and they'd always put it at the back of the store so that you could, you went in there and you saw things. Now we don't face that challenge so much anymore, but understand that people are still evaluating online. So if you want to tell a lifestyle story, you want to pull products together, do it online, and make sensible. I always tell this story. I was buying my sister a pregnancy book online. And then it asked me if I wanted to buy a breast pump, and it just felt so invasive. I was like, no. But find items to cross-sell that really make sense. Think in lifestyle the way you would in merchandising. Think about it the same way online. What do people want online? What makes you buy products online? What are the things that we gave them a list of 12 things, and I just put the things up here that were most the four biggest. The four biggest things that people expect or want when they shop online. Number one is a variety of price points. Number two is a range of quality options. I thought this was really interesting. We didn't expect this to be number two, certainly. We thought, but they want a range of quality options. 35 was a broad range of products to choose from. So they want price, they want quality, and they want assortment. All of them. They expect them online. And they want a broad range of recognizable, sorry, bad spelling, he's fired. They want a broad range of recognizable brands. So when we go in store, I did have it in store. In-store. Ability to touch and experience products was number one, not surprising, until they come up with like, feelit.com or something. Sounds dirty. And then a broad range of quality options again, a variety of price points, and a broad range of products to choose from. So this really presses the in-stock thing because we know now that people want in-stock more. But it's like it's really challenging for a store because then again you're only selling what you see a lot of times. But it just makes it's interesting to see there was a very low expectation during the pandemic in terms of having a variety of anything. So now the bounce back is if you expect me to come in, you've got to offer me something like what you offer me online, that experience. Finally, the value of responsibility. So we talked this morning about social responsibility and environmental responsibility. When deciding to purchase from a retailer or brand, how important to you is their position on social responsibility? Number one was somewhat important, and number two was very. Number three was not, and number four was extremely. So I'm not going to lie to you. We have seen an increase in social and a decrease in environmental. There's a reason for it. We freaked out. We're like, what the hell? How does this work? But the reason is because consumers are being exposed to a barrage. Everybody's saying we're doing something about the environment. And we have a tendency to start thinking, okay, well, that's kind of okay. We've got that. We're going to back burner that for a second. But what really feels like there's a lot of injustice is social. So they start paying attention to that. It's a good thing. It works. But it only works if we deliver on what we said about environmental, and especially for our industry, where environmental is the lever that we get to pull the hardest, right? So it's important to let's look at environmental and what it says there. Environmental, 43% somewhat, 26 and 19 very and extremely. So, and I thought here, if you look on the left, I broke it down by generation because there's something very interesting here. Boomers are now at only 41% says it affected their purchase. And you can see it climb as we go up to Gen Z. Pretty soon, you're going to see Gen Z starting to drop off a bit. They've dropped about 4 points this year. And we couldn't figure out why they were dropping, because to us, they're the generation that cares about it the most. What we found out when we followed up with the respondents was that for Gen Z, if it's not responsible, they're not even looking at it. It's baked in now. So when they look at a product, if it doesn't have something to say, then they're just not going to shop about it anymore. But I thought the really interesting thing was, and it's not a drop, it was this way last year, but the fact that boomers are that low on this being a lever for them is interesting. I can't say why. I'm sure that people like Joe have an opinion about it. If you ask me anecdotally, I would say it's because right now it's about ease and convenience, and it's something that right now there are a lot of physical challenges in that generation, and so there are other priorities, and they probably also feel like other generations are handling this. And then finally, when choosing a retailer, manufacturer, or brand, how important is their commitment to provide data privacy, safety, and security? Well, 75% say that it's very to extremely important. So it is. I love that I was able to find little figures with people being arrested. I was happy with that. What was surprising on this one was that it was less important by about 10 points for Gen Z. And I asked a friend of mine who's like a super geek, and he was like, because privacy's a myth. He's like, if people want it, they'll get it. So I'm not even going to stress out about that. But we still have a responsibility to make it so they can be comfortable with ease. It's important. So many of our suppliers will reach out and do direct-to-consumer or reach out after the purchase and say, you want to see what else we have? Here, look at our website. It's important that we force manufacturers to stand behind our standards as retailers of what data security is. It should be a part of our contracts that unless you hit these standards, which are our standards, you're not allowed to put on your, you're not allowed to advertise your website on our thing. We already see that they have low confidence there. So, and that is it. So, This is like a record because usually I have people like pulling me off the stage. Does anybody have any questions I can't answer? Yeah. Sorry, say it again? Oh, here goes Peter.
You hear me?
Yeah.
There we go.
You mentioned that social responsibility is more important than environmental responsibility. How do you define social responsibility?
Social responsibility, we defined it as everything from, I'm sorry, thank you, it should have been on there. We define social responsibility as everything from workplace conditions to, what's the word I'm looking for, to fair trade, to diversity and inclusion programs. And we see a lot of brands going out there and saying that that's what they stand for, but it was primarily that. There's so many other ways to do it, also being a part of your community, being a part of the global community, but in general it was defined as taking responsible actions that holding everything that you do up to a standard of responsibility and a general concern for the safety of the consumer and and what you're doing for the world, really. And for those of you who would want copies of these, we'll send it to you. Just come and drop off your card, and we'll send you one. It'll have that on it.
We've got some questions up this way.
Yeah. Hi.
On the purchasing decisions, where does speed come into that? Because again, people are saying, if I don't get it by Tuesday, I don't want it. I'll find someone else who gets it as part of the purchasing decisions. And
that's interesting. We didn't do speed, but and it's probably a good thing to add. I think that we look at it as much as you can, you hold yourself to the best player on, the best player on the field. So, I always say, look at, for your category, what's Amazon doing? They set the bar for so many things, and sometimes you'll see a variance. I think one of the interesting things that I'm seeing now is tiered choices. So you can have it you can have it faster, but the upcharges are a lot heavier than they used to be. So it's like you can have it this way, but you're going to pay for it this way. We still make it your option because a lot of people want it really fast. So, right. But we did see a dip in the number of people. I forget who did the study. There was a dip in the number of people paying express shipment fees in the last year. And I think it's because we're
getting so trained with Prime, so you want it in your 2 days or whatever, right? So that's now applying over to everyone.
Hey.
Just a comment on your reference to cross-branding, and I find this fascinating, and I think that the housewares industry is really ripe for this. I'm starting to see it all over the place. It's something that anybody who follows the record industry certainly has seen when two very disparate artists get together, like whether it's a pop artist with a Latin artist or a pop with a rapper or whatever, and they're crossing audiences, and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But
seeing how that's happening in cuisine. There's a presentation. I hope some of you got to it this morning. Leanne, is Leanne here, by the way?
Right over here.
Oh, okay.
Right here.
Hi. Oh, good. So I want to ask you something, but Leanne did a flavors thing this morning, and it's easy to look at that and say, okay, what does that mean to me? But when you look at, say, cocktail flavors, bars and restaurants have gone back to molecular mixology because consumers took back easy drinks like mules and old fashions, and they're like, we're not going to fight them for that. We're never going to win that. So they're letting our business do that, and they're going back to things that you can't get outside a restaurant. But I think that Leanne Schwarzkopf, for those of you who haven't met her, she's a part of this. She's sitting back there, blonde, and she has. There's so much interesting information about how people are co-branding. So if you want any information about collaborations, co-branding, about how Leanne, the housewares industry had an increase this year in the number of in the number of brands that they wanted licensing, right? Is that right?
Yeah, there's a lot more licensing than there had been, and I don't have the data right in front of me.
Why not?
But collaborations are taking all different kinds of forms, from formal licensing agreements to informal, one-off executions in store, or even online with different content.
You pointed out that even ice cream was co-branding with a lot of candy, was it?
Ice cream and Popcorn right now is a lot with a lot of candy brands and flavor brands to give it a little oomph and
So Tom,
something different.
That's a good point.
one of the places recently where I saw quite a bit of it, which was so interesting, was the Kitchen and Bath Show. So at the Kitchen and Bath Show, for example, Kohler collabed with Cafe Appliances on hardware color.
Oh, cool.
And it was a cool concept because it was about, okay, you're doing burnished gold in your house and you don't want like 5 different kinds of burnished gold. Let's try to bring them all in line so that they go together. Another one was Kohler with a French luxury fragrance brand, candle brand, and they did a line of accessories with that brand.
The reason
Another
why
one
that's
was
working
Victoria-
too,
what?
honestly, the reason why that's working is because the industry's starting to think of the way consumers think. Consumers don't go in and think about blenders, think about small electrics versus cookware versus bakeware. They think about product the way they live product. So it's like, well, this person likes this. Who would their idea be for somebody cool to collaborate? You know, who's the musician they listen to? Who are the artists they follow? And then they go out and seek those people. And it lets you, like I said, it lets you recreate your brand without compromising your brand identity.
Oh, and Victoria and Albert Baths did a collab with Condé Nast Traveler.
Nice.
So it's really all over the place in terms of who's collaborating with who.
It is, and
makes
it's a
lot
great
of
way to.
sense.
Our industry is kind of behind on it. I'm not going to lie. There's some great cookware collaborations this time around, but I think we could do a lot more with it.
We got one question over here.
Tom, hi.
No, you ask hard questions.
I know. So you can say pass.
Okay.
I know, like in food industry, that Emma Chamberlain, former YouTuber, has the coffee. Mr. Beast has his candy bars. Do you see the YouTube creators and TikTok creators collaborating with these in the housewares and appliances industry?
I'm just going to mention one. I mean, it's, you know, sometimes it's a YouTube influencer, but they're coming back with like I don't know if you saw the icy machine that makes like ices. And for those of you who are old enough, it's like a very 70s thing. But it's a machine that makes those crushed ice things that you can buy at 7-Eleven, slushies. You know, so and there's a machine for that. But it was really one of the drivers for it was that somebody on YouTube kept talking about how they missed it and all this other stuff. I'm going to ask Leanne to actually kick in and answer on that because she did this as well, and that's like her wheelhouse. No?
Let me just add something. Just to answer your question, yes, because at one of the sessions we had yesterday, there was a woman in charge of home for TikTok right now. Her goal is to come here and to align with brands that they can work through a social commerce. It's not just, you know, the influencing and the content. It's about creating social commerce opportunities using these platforms. That's going to happen whether it's TikTok this year or whatever we don't know is going to be here next year. I mean, it's going to be an important part of
It's an opportunity for retail. It's like when butterboards came out, okay? And you saw people showing you how to make it on YouTube and all this other stuff. I mean, you know, they'll all be dead in a year for the heart attack. But the thing is, it's like that boost. The people who are paying attention, both at grocery and in specialty, cook and bake shops, put boards out front, you know, and because they knew people were looking for them. But I think that it's super important, especially for things that you don't have a lot of development time on. We did something last year where we looked at top TikToks and we saw, you know, a lot of kids making wings or kids making guac, and you know, and it's like, this kid has a load of followers. They're doing something new every week. Put product in their hands. All of it's unbranded. They're talking about the products they're using to make it, and they're not branding it. So.
Tom, I have a quick question. It speaks to the chart where you said there is an interest, I think online, the variety of price points was high, and when we went to store it was slightly lower. And you made a comment that it might be about looking for low prices. Is it really more about looking for options and prices and being able to evaluate what a lower price product is relative to a middle price product relative to a slightly higher price product?
Well, we saw there's a couple of things that relate to that. Like I said, the fact that we were seeing quality not being compromised by lower prices tells you one thing about that. But also, I think when people want the ability, look, at the end of the day, Americans are consumers. So we can talk about being more environmentally conscious, and of course we want to. And now there are more products that let us be that. But at our core, we're very identified with how we evolve. You know, it's not like it was 20 years ago. We are defined by our activities. And the expectation in our lives is that we will continue evolving. It's not linear anymore. It's not like I'm starting here, I'm going to go to high school, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to get married, I'm going to, you know, all that stuff. There is no end. You keep evolving. And since that is a social mandate, we need products to help us do that. We need products to help us communicate on social media and other ways. And the idea of price points and assortment lets us try something new without making a big investment in it. You know, sous vide started up here, but now there are a lot of really affordable options, so you don't have to, if you want to try it, you can try it for $100. You know what I mean?
You think that the answer to a variety of price points is actually a preference for lower price points, not just price options?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it lets you hit things at entry level, but you know, the problem is if you're in store, it means that you have to plan. It's easier if you're Amazon and you've got 5 million products and you can jump, you know, you can, anything that's not in stock falls off and there's 10 things behind it. You really have to think about it if you're a retailer and honestly, if you're a stocking manufacturer.
Hey there, it's me.
Are you yawning or were you just telling me to shut up? Oh, no, I was
I'm
looking
talking.
at...
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, what? No, I had a question for you. So related to that, though, I mean, if you're talking about evaluation online versus buying in store, I mean, could it also be a combination of some of what you're saying in your other parts of the value equation? If reviews are that important, right, you have to go online for that. You're not going in store to see the different reviews and how companies respond. Likewise, from a speed standpoint, I mean, certainly, you know, if you're not going to be able to get it, I mean, even when Amazon has same day, if you really need it right now, you need it right now. And, sometimes 3 to 8 or whatever it is actually means, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. So I just wonder if there's like a speed convenience and a review kind of thing that brings that together.
That's where that's where it's a Venn diagram. That's where branding comes in though, and brand value. When you create, to me, I always say create enough brand value that somebody's willing to wait. Because, if you can't differentiate your brand, if I need a peeler, there are 100 people I could buy a peeler from. There's nothing really special, about any particular peeler, but now there are. So it's like, now I can go to 10 people and they have the ones that they're self-sharpening peeler from Dream Farm. It's crazy, so it's, there's a lot of great products, but that's why differentiation, that's why innovation is important. We were talking about it this morning. If you're a retailer, show innovation. If you're and demand it from your manufacturers. Keep saying what's new, what's new, what's new. And if you're a manufacturer, if you're a manufacturer, then innovate. Because that's in any. It's easy to jump on the freak out train. Recession is a part of our economic engine. It's a part of our cycle. We've had 11 recessions since World War II. Okay, 11. We will get out of it. But we get embedded in the news cycle and we start talking to our consumers and we start buying in a fearful way and it just sets up this chain reaction. So, don't not innovate. You said it this morning. You've got to innovate. Joe said it. It's so important.
Got time for a couple more questions? Anyone else?
Yeah. Hi.
Got it, Isabel.
Hi, Tom.
Hi.
I wanted to go back to consumer reviews because I feel like it's a little corrupt now. And I don't know whether anyone else in the room feels the same. I read them and I think, I don't know, is this really real? And I thought, as a futurist, are you guys hearing from people who have new ideas?
The only thing that I would say I've heard in terms of futurism and reviews is that they're going to start favoring things that suggest other products, So it's like, in other words, you're going to listen to what people say, but that certain algorithms are going to favor things that mention more than one product. Now that's almost a merchandising decision, right? But in a way, it's helpful because it speaks to lifestyle. As far as I think anybody gets suspicious, it's that there's probably something on Edelman Trust Survey about it, and I haven't looked for that particularly, but it's a great site. I think that we just have to be cautious. When you see 50,000 reviews on something, you're going to be like, somebody's buying reviews. When you don't see people leaving up critical reviews, that's why it's so interesting that when you look at, was this helpful? Was this review helpful? And you look at the numbers of helpful on bad reviews, it doesn't mean they don't buy, it just means they know more about it. We get paranoid. It's just, yes, it's big. I wanted something big. I wanted a bread box this big. So it's okay, but so it doesn't mean that I'm not going to buy it, but I think that really it's just, people are suspicious of big numbers. And people are also not convinced by low numbers. So you've got to just make sure you say somewhere in between, and make sure that you're soliciting feedback, soliciting information. There's so many, I said it this morning, Surveys are so inexpensive. And people, when you send people a survey, they know you care about them. You know, when you look at direct-to-consumer cookware, there's about 10 brands and that are really doing well. And they're constantly asking people, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Do you like, you don't like? You know, not at the point they're judging something they bought. At the point they're looking at it on the site. You like this? You have to buy it. Just say you like it. You know, so it's a lot like social media in that way. It's nice. Anything else?
Tom Mirabile, thank you so much.
Thanks. My pleasure.
Food for thought.
Thanks, everybody.
Everyone, we hope you have a great rest of the day. Just a reminder, tomorrow at 1 o'clock inside this room, Lee Eisman of Pantone will deliver her annual home color forecast. It's always interesting viewing and insight. So we hope to see you then. Enjoy the rest of the show today. Bye-bye now.